Hi class, today we're going to be working on a modified contour line drawing of a shoe as part of your sketches for this week, week 1. And I filled out a shoe that isn't too difficult, but it does have some interesting textures to it. It has some zigzag stitching here. It has some kind of crisscross texture here, some like almost corduroy. It used to have a button, but it fell to a dog. And I'm just going to kind of break up the shoe as I'm drawing into, like, here's a triangle shape here. I'm going to look at the shape of that heel and where it indents. I'm looking at the negative space that goes around it and through it to really map out those shapes. And I'm going to start with an HB pencil, which is hard, and hence the H. And that harder pencil is going to give me a lighter line. And then I can come back in later with either maybe the 4B, or if that's a little too dark for me, a 2B, or possibly even one of my charcoal pencils. But for now, I'm going to start with a lighter wispy line, and I'm going to just kind of have some sketching marks. I can go back in with the eraser or in the darker pencil later. So I'm going to start by taking a look at this shape here. I'm going to start with that heel. And start mapping that out. And you'll see sometimes I'll have kind of a wispier line and sometimes a more sketchy line, and sometimes it'll be more of a smooth line, just depending. And I'm going to map out this shape right here. And where this intersects. This is the bottom of my shoe. And the shoe comes up just a little bit. Has a square toe. I'm going to come back over here. And I'm going to have this go down. This doesn't have to be perfect. You know, if you make a wrong line, you can erase it. Right here, this just doesn't seem right to me. So I'm going to come back in. Because it's light, it's easy for me to fix. And come back around and bring that back up. And those little sketchy lines will help. Now over here, I need to map out where this becomes that kind of weird flowery shape. And then we're going to go up, just really looking at that negative space right there, or that shape inside of that shoe, and what that looks like. Those shapes are going to help me as I work on this. This may not be perfect the first line. That's okay. You can go back in and you can fix that. Now I can come over here and I can map out where this is going. This is just that kind of line that's going to have the zigzags going through it, or it looks like X's going through it. I can work on that later though. Over here I have some more of these kind of boundaries. And it looks like this might not be long enough, so I'm going to come back down and fix that. And then I can come back in and fix this as well. Because there's more of a space right here that I'm looking at. And now we can see that just a little bit better. Now, any extra lines can be gotten rid of. Over here, underneath the shoe, there's a point where this comes up and meets this line here. Now, this is laying out the foundation, but I have an inside of a shoe that I'm seeing right here. So I need to come back out, and it looks like it starts, for me, from my vantage point, it looks like it's starting here. And then it's going to go underneath. Now that's kind of a lumpy, zigzaggy line, and part of that might be just how lightly I was pressing. And sometimes you have to increase that pressure to get a straighter line. That is a really good start. There's another line here, and I can start working inside of that. Now when you look at this drawing I did of this shoe earlier, you can see I really thickened up some lines, and some of them I kept lighter. And the reason I did that was to have a stronger line in some places. And so I'm going to do the same thing now. I'm going to come back in with a little bit darker pencil. I'll likely keep this line light right here, but I want to, I do like the 4B. I'm going to come back in with that softer pencil, the 4B, but I like 6B even more. And I can thicken some of that up. I'm not shading it, I'm just changing the weight of that line. If I press harder, I'm going to get a darker line, and if I go over it a few times, I can thicken that up a bit, and that makes it just a little bit more interesting. And now that I feel a bit more confident about how this looks, I feel pretty confident about fixing all of this. Now these lines here, although they're usually lighter, I'm just going to make them a nice dark stitching line. So I can work into it until it's a finished product like this one. Here I added in just some details of this like painted quality of the shoe and the leather strapping and the stitches, those teeny tiny little stitches, which are a really important part of this shoe. Those are all really important parts of it. Down here I really darkened up underneath this puffy back of the shoe, and those are all things that I can work with on this one as well. All right,